Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Raw vs SmackDown, where we look at both shows for the week and see which one won. Now it's pretty simple. We look at all the content on Raw, we have a look at all the content on SmackDown, and then we'll give it a score out of 5. Now if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please remember to like, subscribe and press that bell to keep notified. Now that's all said and done, let's get on with a review. Let's hit the music. So we kicked off the show with none other than John Cena. That's right, you could not see him. Yes, John Cena started off the show, and to be honest with you guys, I was actually quite happy to see John. He really made the atmosphere excited. Fans were just buzzing to see John Cena, and he was just happy to be home in WWE. He cut a typical John Cena promo, who we talked about which superstars were returning for the night, and you know what? It was cool when the Usos came out. The Usos challenged John Cena to a rap battle. Funny enough, John Cena mentioned the Usos being arrested, and in hell, one of the Usos just got arrested yesterday. Good timing there, guys. And then Rikishi comes out. It looks like we're going to have a dance off with the Usos, Rikishi and John Cena, before everyone is interrupted by the Revival and Devon Dudley. To be honest, I was a bit upset that we didn't get to see Bubba Ray, but Devon is still awesome to see. And this led on to the tag team match straight after. Then this led us on to the match itself, which was the Usos with Rikishi in their corner and the Revival with Devon in their corner. Again, very fun, probably one of the better matches of the night. This was the Raw reunion, so you had legends and current superstars kind of interacting throughout the night. The Usos really were babyface, kind of getting their asses whooped by the Revival. They were in control at the start. Then the Revival used dirty tactics to really overcome the Usos. They were in control for a majority of the match. It looked like Devon was going to get involved in the match as well before Rikishi kept him away. And then obviously we had the Usos having a super kick party, kicking everyone in the face, well the Revival in the face at least, and then they won the match. Like I stated, this was possibly one of the better matches of the night on Raw, so I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Very entertaining match, and it was the only thing they missed out was that after the match, when the Usos won, they should have had a dance off with the dad, because let's be honest, there's two things we remember about Rikishi. It's either his awesome dancing or I did it for the Rock. But yes, they missed a step there in my opinion, but it was cool to see Rikishi out with his sons. Next up we had Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander. Well, we were supposed to anyway. So before the match started, Drew McIntyre was backstage. You saw some of the legends, as he classed them as, and he was not happy to see them backstage Raw. Apparently Alicia Fox now is a legend, as she left the company now. I don't know, but they treated her more like a returning legend than they did as a mainstay superstar. So that was interesting. But yeah, we're supposed to have Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander. That match never happened because Drew went completely Scottish psychopath on Cedric Alexander, destroying him. Cedric did manage to use his speed for a little bit, his agility, to get around Drew McIntyre, but that didn't last too long because Drew McIntyre's power just completely destroyed Cedric Alexander. And if this leads on to a continuing feud, I would like to see Cedric Alexander versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. I think that could be a very interesting match. We haven't seen Drew take on like a superstar like Cedric Alexander, who's very much agility based over strength based. We've seen him more focus on guys like Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. This could be an interesting partner, team matchup against each other. So for me, I'm going to give it a 1.5. If it continues a feud between these two, excellent. If it doesn't, bit of a shame really, because I don't want to see Cedric Alexander just be buried and destroyed like they did in this segment. Next up we had the Viking Raiders versus Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. We also had a special guest commentator in this one. It was Christian. Awesome to see Christian again on you know what, I was saying this to a lot of people, Christian needs to be a new commentator for SmackDown. I think when SmackDown moves to Fox, I would love to have Christian as the color commentator. Have Corey just exclusive to Raw. Have Christian on SmackDown. I think that would work. I think Christian, if you listen to him on ENC's Pod of Awesomeness, he just plays a great heel. No matter what. Even when he's just being himself, he is a heel. So it was good to see that. Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins obviously have a history with Christian, so they were happy to see him. The match itself was a very quick match, nothing really too much in it. The Viking Raiders overpowered Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder, and they got the victory with the Viking experience. I'm going to give the match again a 1.5 out of 5. Nothing too exciting to talk about the match, but it was good to see Christian on the mic yet again. Next up we had Samoa Joe. This was interesting. Joe came out, he was pretty much complaining about Legends returning, and especially like the Usos and Rikishi messing about at the start of the show. Obviously this caused another Samoan to come out, and that was Roman Reigns. Roman got a massive pop on this episode of Raw. He obviously told Samoa Joe he needs to watch what he says. Obviously they're from the same island, and you know what will happen if you continue. This led on to a match between Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns. Again, a decent match. Both guys have that good chemistry. We've seen it before in the past, and every time you watch them, you just go, damn, these two should be, these two could be main events at a lot of pay-per-view, and that could be an interesting storyline. Both men Samoan. Samoa Joe not related to any of the Samoans in WWE at all, so he's like the outcast Samoan, while Roman is like the, like right now he's the leader of the Samoan pack on WWE, so that could be interesting to see. But I really enjoyed this match. Roman did win. Joe did again dirty tactics throughout the whole match, but it was cool to, it was a good big victory for Roman Reigns, so I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up we had a special Miz TV with the guest this week to be none other than Seth freaking Rollins. This was an interesting segment. Good to see the Miz on TV again. I'm just curious what's going on with the Miz. He's pretty much been on. He will be on both shows this week doing a Miz TV segment. Very much continuing a little bit with Dolph Ziggler on SmackDown, but it feels like there's nothing for him to do on Raw. So for me personally, I would honestly think about moving the Miz back to SmackDown permanently and have him as one of the big baby faces there. I think they could use someone like the Miz personally on SmackDown. But yeah, it was interesting. We had Seth Rollins there. He was talking about his match against Brock Lesnar. Did a terrible Brock Lesnar impression. This is probably one of the worst promos Seth's done in a long time. Seth, I think he's probably one of the best promo speakers, but this one felt really bad. He's doing he was just pretending to be Brock Lesnar and talking about how stupid his face is and all this lot. This obviously caused Paul Heyman to come out, the advocate of Brock Lesnar. Seth got really sick of it, and he said that Paul needs to watch what he says, because obviously if you represent Brock Lesnar, I'm coming for you. Paul Heyman runs off after Seth gives him the warning of 5 seconds or I'm going to beat the crap out of you. He runs off, and obviously that's the end of the segment. Again, there's nothing really. The Miz really didn't do too much in this. Seth's promo was terrible, and Paul Heyman was entertaining, was the only part of this which was entertaining. So for me, I'm going to give it, again, a 1.5 out of 5. I think this just shows that if you haven't got anything really planned for the Miz, you shouldn't really use him like this. Next up we had Rey Mysterio versus Sami Zayn. Now this all started with Sami Zayn backstage cutting a promo towards these legends who are backstage partying, stating that they're taking airtime from current superstars and they're only here to get one last pop. Rey Mysterio, obviously, who is a legend, but he's a working legend, stated that Sami should show respect for the people who came before him. This led on to the match itself. Sami Zayn and Rey Mysterio, again, very good little chemistry, but there was very little in this match itself. It only was for like a few minutes. Rey looked like he was going to win the match with the 619 before Sami got out of the ring. He looked like he had already had enough with the match. And then who comes but none other than Mr. Monday Night himself, RVD. That's right, RVD returned for the Raw reunion, which was awesome. We also had the Hurricane return. We had Sergeant Slaughter and Kurt Angle. All legends stopping Sami Zayn from getting out. Sami goes back in the ring. Rey hits him with a 619. Rey does a little tribute to RVD when he went RVD and did hit the frog splash and won the match. Again, very short match, but it was cool to see RVD. I think that was the most, oh my god, RVD's return to Monday Night Raw was pretty awesome. Good to see Kurt Angle, the Hurricane. He's always one of my favourite cruiserweights of all time. And Sergeant Slaughter, I wasn't around when he was a wrestler. I remember him being more of a authority figure back in the Attitude Era. So again, it was awesome to see the Sarge. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 stars. Just the return of RVD was the best part for me as a fan. But the match itself was just a little bit too short and very little to it. Next up we had Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. AJ obviously had the club, or the OC now they're calling them, the original club I think it stands for, which is Gallows and Anderson. The match itself was a decent match from the start. Very two capable wrestlers, two of the best wrestlers in the company in my opinion, really going at it. It looked like Seth was about to win the match with the stomp before Gallows and Anderson got involved and started beating down on Seth Rollins. It looked like the club was going to just absolutely destroy Seth before, that's right, DX came out, Shawn Michaels and Triple H came out. It looked like they were about to join the club because they did the Too Sweet sign. And then next thing we know, DX tell them to suck it, which was awesome to see. And they start beating down on the club. The club gets steel chairs prepared. And what happens? Road Dogg, X-Pac, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall all turn up. The original Clique arrive and they save Seth Rollins and everyone. This was cool, and then they all had a little hug and everything. And Seth Rollins got to say, "If you're not down with that, you get to suck it." One funny line though, I've got to say, from Road Dogg was, "Damn it, I forgot Billy," which was great. Obviously, Billy Gunn, who's now working for AEW. It was nice that he got a shout out in some way, but it's just like, oh, he can't be here because he's working with someone else, but we will make a shout out for him. And they also mentioned China, which was damn cool as well. And then they had the big group hug, and Seth looked like, oh, I'm not part of the group, and then they got him to hug as well. That was cool. I really liked this segment. I think this was the best mixture. It took away, the match itself wasn't, it was a good match. It started off as a good match. I wish we actually continued the match, but it was good to see DX and the original Clique return. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. I think I'm being very generous because I got to see the original Clique return. So yeah, a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up we had Mick Foley come out. Mick was there for the 24/7 championship. All the way through, before the week started, before we got to Raw, Mick Foley was been tweeting online saying he wants the 24/7 championship. By this time the 24/7 championship had changed hands a few times on the show. A few superstars, a few legends had claimed the title, and I will get into that a little bit later in the video. But Mick Foley was there. Drake Maverick runs past him through the ring, up the stairs, and all the other superstars. Mick cannot chase after him, as we know. Mick is in no way going to ever run again. And then next thing we know, the lights go out, and Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, is there. Bray Wyatt attacks Mick Foley using Mick's old finisher, the claw, onto Mick Foley himself. That was, if that's if that is Bray Wyatt's new finisher, awesome. The Fiend is awesome right now. I know we've seen him use the Sister Abigail as well. So if he's got that as his submission move and Sister Abigail as his finisher, that could be really cool. And then he disappears. I really like this. This gives a lot of heat to the Fiend. Obviously, we're really excited to see him when he does turn up and he just destroys people like this. He destroyed Finn Balor, he's destroyed now Mick Foley, a legend. That's going to give a lot of heat to Bray Wyatt. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. I think this is the right direction to take Bray Wyatt's Fiend character, and I think it's awesome that he's stolen a legend's finisher. So yeah, 2.5 out of 5. So we had a moment of bliss with Becky Lynch. Obviously we had Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross hosting the moment of bliss, and they were talking about her relationship with Natalya. Becky just pretty much said, yes, I travel the world, and then that was about it with Natalya. Natalya comes out pretty soon. They start bickering up between each other and they start getting into a brawl. Again, very short segment. They didn't really get, again, it's pretty much from last week. We have Becky saying, look, when it comes to the title, I have no friends. And understandable, you're a champion, you're not going to go easy on your friend. Natalya in this story for me has just been like, oh well, we're supposed to be friends and you're just throwing it away for a title. Yes, you're a champion, you throw away your friendships to be the champion. If Big E was #1 contender against Kofi Kingston, they would be butting heads a little bit. This is exactly what you expect. But it's like Natalya is just like a teenage girl, like, oh, I paved the way and all this. It's like, okay, if you want to believe that Natalya, perfect. But Becky Lynch is the most popular women's wrestler in the company right now. Get over it. So yeah, I wasn't really fussed about this segment. Again, it felt like it was taking TV time, and it didn't really lead to too much, in my opinion, for the Natalya-Becky Lynch feud. So I'm going to give it a 1.5 out of 5. Now we're going to talk about the 24/7 Championship. Now, throughout the night, like I stated earlier on in this video, the 24/7 Championship had changed hands. It started off with R-Truth. He got pinned by Drake Maverick. Then Drake Maverick got pinned by Pat Patterson, who then got pinned by Briscoe, his former Stooge partner, who then got pinned by Kelly Kelly. She got pinned by Candice Michelle, and then she got pinned by Alundra Blaze, and then she sold the title to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and then he got beaten by Drake Maverick, and then Drake Maverick got pinned by R-Truth. And then R-Truth ran off in the limousine with not just the title, but Drake Maverick's wife. Really fun segment. Throughout the whole night, this was possibly the best segment. I think we had like 8 title changes in that night, so that was pretty awesome. Again, the 24/7 stealing the show on Raw. Who would have thought it? For me, I am going to give this a 3 out of 5. I think having legends win it, having women wrestlers win it, having Ted DiBiase win it by buying it, I thought that was so cool. Alundra Blaze about to throw it in the trash can. All these like little bit of, we're going back to the past, we're having a homage to the past, was brilliant. So like I stated, a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up we had Braun Strowman versus a local talent. It very much was a squash match. Braun just completely and utterly destroyed this local talent. Again, I don't understand, why are we giving Braun Strowman local talent to work with? If you haven't really got any ideas to do with Braun Strowman, I get you want to put him on TV, he's one of the most over characters on Raw, but having him just squash a local talent and that's about it, no legends or no nothing with his segment, it was pretty much squash, I'm done. So for me, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 stars. I don't think, again, we needed the Braun Strowman squash segment, but yeah, And again, 1 out of 5 stars. Last but not least, we had the Legends toast to Monday Night Raw. This was really cool. We had Ric Flair come out. The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I love seeing Ric Flair come out. He is just so cool, in my opinion. Then you had the Legends come out. Mark Henry, Booker T, Christian, all the Legends who were out. RVD, Alicia Fox. They all came out. It was a nice little, like, oh my god, this is cool. And then Hulk Hogan came out. He cut a promo. He cut a typical Hogan promo. You saw Booker T's face, and Mark Henry just looked down when Hogan came out. So again, Mark Henry, respect for him for not showing anything towards Hogan at all. Same with Booker T. Both men were just like, yeah, Hogan's here, yay. And then the glass smashes, and of course the crowd just goes, man. The crowd went hype for Flair, they went hyper for, you know, Hogan coming out. But when the glass smashed, it was 1998 again, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, the baddest man on the planet, just comes down. He barges past RVD. He gets down and he talks about how WWE Monday Night Raw is a family, and he has respect for all these legends and all the superstars and all the road crew and everyone who was there, the fans at home. He just talks about it being a family, and I thought this was a cool promo. Stone Cold isn't known for his promos. I think Austin, you know, he's had 1 or 2 legendary promos, but he wasn't really one of those guys who would cut serious promos all the time. And this one was very much a very heartfelt promo, which you didn't often get to see with Austin. But yeah, he cut the promo. Got everyone in the ring drinking beer with him, and that was it. I really love this segment. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars, mainly because Stone Cold was just awesome through it. And there you go. So we start off with SmackDown Live now. So SmackDown started off with Shane O'Mac, and Shane was talking about Kevin Owens' tweets during Monday Night Raw's Raw reunion, and he pretty much stated he wanted to challenge Shane to a match at SummerSlam. Shane accepted the match, but he also stated that KO also said if he cannot beat Shane O'Mac at SummerSlam, he will quit WWE for good. Shane also says that is going to be the stipulation. KO comes out, he goes, look Shane, I knew you would go for that stipulation. He explains about when he did quit this time last year, because Shane showed a video clip of it happening last year, and he really justified why he was in that, you know, place of thought right at that point of his life. Shane starts getting cocky. KO says, right, well, how about we just have to fight now? Shane goes, well, if you want to have a fight, you will have a fight, and it will be against the big dog himself, Roman Reigns. And that will lead on to our main event of SmackDown Live. I thought this was a good opening to the show. I don't particularly like the promo openings. I like that we get straight into matches. I wish we would get straight into matches, but I think for this week on Raw and SmackDown, they had to go back to the promo opening. So I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 stars. It leads on to a match for SummerSlam, which is great. It adds a stipulation, which is great. And you know, it really is building up Kevin Owens as possibly the biggest babyface on SmackDown right now. I'd say he's possibly be bigger than Kofi right now. So yeah, I'm gonna, like I said, a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up we had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Apollo Crews. Now when I saw this match, I was like, this match is neither gonna start or it's not going to be very good. I am so glad I was wrong. I'm so glad I was completely wrong. This match did start. Shinsuke didn't just go out and just destroy Apollo before the match happened, and I'm glad they actually had a competitive match. Again, this was possibly one of Apollo's best matches, even though he did lose. Yes, spoiler alert, he loses. But yeah, it was possibly, we had the New Day on commentating because we didn't have Corey Graves or Byron Saxton on commentating, so we had David Otunga and the New Day, who were they did commentating for half the show, and then they were replaced by Michael Cole. But yeah, this was a really competitive match. Apollo looks really sharp. He looked like he was about to win this match several times against Shinsuke, but this new aggressive Shinsuke Nakamura, I would say possibly the best Shinsuke Nakamura we've had since he got called up to the main roster, in my opinion. Really just distraught, you know. After a while, he managed to turn the tide on Apollo. He was very aggressive. I mean, after the match, he starts beating down Apollo for pushing him to his limits. So again, a great heel Shinsuke Nakamura, which I really enjoyed. And he did win, but it did take everything to beat Apollo. So it really elevated Apollo to be like just an upper mid-card superstar now. So I could see in a few more matches where if Apollo really does continue that hot streak of maybe not always winning, not winning all the time, but having some big wins, he could go up to challenging for the IC title sometime in the future. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. A very competitive match and very entertaining from both two very skillful superstars. Next up, we had Miz TV, and this week's special guest for Miz TV was none other than a Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. They talked about the Raw reunion, they talk about you know, Shawn at NXT and everything like that. They were quickly interrupted by Dolph Ziggler. Dolph comes out, and obviously Shawn Michaels and the Miz they, you know, they start cutting into Dolph. Shawn even calls Dolph a wannabe Shawn Michaels, and Dolph just gets annoyed. There's a super kick on the Miz. They both, again, this is building up the feud for the Miz and Dolph Ziggler, but it was good to see Shawn Michaels and Dolph Ziggler interact, because obviously everyone keeps saying Dolph Ziggler is a wannabe Shawn Michaels, and having those two face off against each other was great. Dolph even mentions the Saudi Arabia match and all this, all that, you know, those return matches, that return match at Saudi Arabia, and said you sold out pretty much to Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels agrees. He did sell out. He let himself down in that final match. So it's like a little of a hint. Oh, could Shawn Michaels be coming back for one last match against Dolph? I doubt it. But it was good to see Shawn actually admitting, yeah, that Saudi match was bad. Again, another shot at Goldberg for how bad his match was against The Undertaker by Dolph Ziggler. So for me, I really like this. It really is building up the Miz-Dolph Ziggler feud, and having Shawn Michaels there really did add a little bit of spice, in my opinion. A good way to use a legend in a segment, in my opinion. So I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we had Ember Moon versus Charlotte Flair. I was super excited when we saw that this match was coming up next, and it didn't happen. It did. Ember won, but before the match started, Bayley came out. Charlotte got distracted. Ember quickly rolled and pinned Charlotte. Charlotte's, you know, frustrated. She lost the match because Bayley came out. Bayley and Ember Moon are laughing at Charlotte. Ember Moon, out of nowhere, just grabs Bayley, chucks her into the ring. Charlotte Flair, big boot onto Bayley, taking out Bayley. Ember Moon comes out, hits the Eclipse on Charlotte, then hits the Eclipse again on Bayley. I mean, Ember Moon looks absolutely strong. Again, it was like a 2-minute match. The interaction between all of us. It was interesting afterwards though. Charlotte did cut a promo stating that she's not even at SummerSlam, she's not involved in any of the women's title matches, so she's going to have a match herself at SummerSlam, and her opponent was better than everyone, but than any other matches going on in the women's division at SummerSlam. So this obviously led to rumours that it's going to be Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair, two of the women who have held the most titles in WWE history, going at it. Now, if this is true, that's super exciting. I would love. That's a dream match I've always wanted to see. Obviously, Trish Stratus versus Charlotte Flair. For me, if that does happen, that's going to be awesome. So with, you know, Charlotte's, you know, stating that she's going to have a SummerSlam match against someone that impressive, and Ember Moon looking pretty much like a badass, I'm going to give us a 2 out of 5 stars. So next up we have Kofi Kingston, and he announces who he wants to challenge at SummerSlam, and surprise surprise, it's none other than Randy Orton. Obviously Randy did pin Kofi last week in a 6-man tag team match, and he calls out, Randy says, look Randy, come out, before you try and attack me from behind, come out, you know, and let's face each other man to man. Randy comes out, they cut promos. Kofi mentions the time when Randy used his influence in the company to keep him down in the mid cards, and Randy admits, yeah, I did. I used my influence in the company to make sure you didn't become a main event star. Obviously, this annoyed Kofi Kingston, but he said, well, I'm here now, I am the WWE champion. And Randy goes, yeah, but you're still not worthy of being a champion. This left off, so they both agreed that they're going to face each other at SummerSlam. Randy's about to walk off, Samoa Joe comes storming down, and this left off to Kofi Kingston versus Samoa Joe. Randy Orton did, instead of going backstage, actually walked back down to the ring and watched the match. I'm going to give this interaction a 2 out of 5 stars. It was cool to see both superstars admitting stuff, you know, like, you know, rumors which we've all heard over the years about Randy using his influence to keep Kofi down was quite cool. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had Kofi Kingston versus Samoa Joe with Randy Orton watching on from the side. This again was a very competitive match. Samoa Joe is one of those superstars who he's a badass. You don't fight Samoa Joe, you just survive Samoa Joe. Even if you win, you're surviving at best, and that's what it felt like. Samoa Joe was in complete control for this match. Kofi Kingston started using momentum a little bit better near the end of the match, but before anything, Randy Orton got involved in the match. This called off the match. Referee called off the match. Randy hit an RKO on Samoa Joe. Kofi hit a Trouble in Paradise on Randy Orton when he tried to hit him with an RKO as well. And Kofi left looking strong. I am looking forward to Randy versus Kofi. Again, does this make Samoa Joe look weak? This is better protected him a little bit, obviously. He lost on Monday night. He got an RKO by Randy on SmackDown. I don't understand why Samoa Joe's back on SmackDown. I wish we could have had someone else. Maybe Buddy Murphy have a match against Kofi Kingston. That could have been an interesting match. But we haven't seen yet Buddy Murphy on SmackDown Live. I'm hoping we start to see superstars who we haven't seen a lot of start being used properly. So I'm going to give this match a 2 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had an in-ring interview with Finn Balor, and he requested this time to put a challenge for SummerSlam. I think the rumors are going to be true that Finn's going to have a break from WWE after SummerSlam, because it was Finn putting a challenge onto Bray Wyatt. He said what Bray did to Mick Foley is unacceptable on Monday Night Raw, and that he is challenging Bray for what he did to him on the week before on Monday Night Raw. Bray Wyatt accepts. He's in his normal Bray Wyatt. He has Rabbity Rabbit and the whatever it is, the other puppet there, and he accepts. But he says you should watch out. You are an extraordinary man who does extraordinary things, but the Fiend is no man. He is just pain, anger, and all this lot. And the Fiend, they go back to this like video montage of a Fiend who's like, let me in. And yes, so the Fiend has accepted the challenge by Finn Balor. So this is exciting. I can't wait. I think this could still be a very good match, even if Finn is going to have a break from WWE afterwards. I think this will be a big win for Bray Wyatt, making him feel like one of the most dangerous heels on WWE TV. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. I think the back and forth between Bray and Finn during the video montage was great. So for me, like I said, a 2.5 out of 5. And this moves us on to our main event for SmackDown Live, which was Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. We also had a special guest referee, which was Drew McIntyre. We also had a special timekeeper, which was Elias. And we had a special announcer, which was Shane O'Mac. Obviously, Shane using all his power to make sure that Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns just beat the crap out of each other. Kevin cuts a quick promo over Roman, saying, if I have to go through Roman Reigns to get to you, I do not care. Roman's like, well, I'm just here to whoop some ass. Even if I have to whoop your ass, I'm going to whoop everyone's ass now. So it looked like Roman really wasn't focused on Kevin Owens. He was just focusing on watching what Shane O'Mac was up to. Both men tried to have a competitive match before Drew McIntyre just keeps on getting involved, pushing both men. It led to Roman and Kevin Owens beating the crap out of Drew McIntyre. This led for Elias and Shane O'Mac to get running into the match. So the match didn't really technically start because the official got beaten up anyway, and it didn't end the match. Elias, Shane and Drew overpowered Roman and Kevin Owens, but both superstars finally start to use their power to overcome Drew McIntyre. They take out Drew McIntyre first, then they take out Elias, then they take out Shane O'Mac. Drew gets hit with the spear, Elias gets hit with a Superman punch, and Shane O'Mac is hit with 2 stunners by Kevin Owens. One, and then the crowd are like, one more time. So KO hits the stunner yet again. Very Stone Cold Steve Austin of him. I really like this. This obviously leading on to the Shane O'Mac and KO match for SummerSlam. Be interesting to see where Roman goes for SummerSlam. I can't wait to see where his feud is going to be. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. I think it was a decent main event. It wasn't really a main event, it was just let's whoop Shane's ass kind of event. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it does lead on to storylines in my opinion. And there you go guys, that was Raw versus SmackDown for this week. And who won for this week? Well, I think Raw Reunion was better than Raw 25. I think that's definitely the case, but I still think that there's too much focus on the legends returning and not enough focus on storylines, especially with SummerSlam only about 2 weeks away. It felt like everything nearly stopped. There was only like 1 or 2 real matches throughout Raw. So I'm going to give Raw a 2 out of 5 stars. I think that's a fair score, and I think it kind of damaged a lot of storylines for the Raw side of SummerSlam. SmackDown, on the other hand, actually felt like a SmackDown show. There was a lot of focusing on SummerSlam and building up the matches towards that, and building up feuds as well. I think the KO and Roman Reigns main event actually worked out really well. I think Finn Balor's challenging Bray Wyatt to SummerSlam as well is very cool, and I think there was a lot of good points throughout the whole show. So for me, I'm going to give SmackDown a 2.5 out of 5. But what for you guys was the best show? Was it Raw or SmackDown? Leave it in the comments below. Use the poll at the top to see who was the best show for you. If you do like our videos on Smack Talk Wrestling, please remember to like, subscribe and press that bell to keep notified. If you want to follow us on the old Twitter, it's at Smack Talk YouTube, that's a U and a tube. And if you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boise88. And I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.